Welcome to the Xplainer. Today, we're going to break down this really powerful and, let's be honest, complicated new alignment that's taking shape between North Korea, China, and Russia. It's a relationship that is literally reshaping the entire geopolitical map.
So, I want you to picture this scene, a scene that leaders in all three capitals are absolutely working towards. You've got Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin, and Kim Jong-un all standing right next to each other, shoulder to shoulder, watching this massive military parade. A moment like that, well, it's pure political theater, engineered to be an incredibly powerful symbol.
I mean, an image like that projects a very clear story, right? A unified front against the West. But is that what's really going on here? Is this some solid, unbreakable new axis? Or is there something way more complicated, way more messy, bubbling just under the surface? All right, let's dive in.
A display of unity like that would be a masterclass in geopolitical signaling. The message would be unmistakable, a consolidated authoritarian alignment created specifically to oppose the US-led international order. It's meant to be a visual declaration that we're in a new era.
The story they're trying to sell is one of total convergence. For Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin, this is their new Cold War moment. They are all in. But, as the Sejong Institute rightly points out, China's goals, well, they've always been a little more nuanced, a little more cautious than that.
But here's where it gets really interesting. What's actually hiding behind this carefully crafted picture of unity? The reality? It's a messy mix of competing national interests and, frankly, some pretty significant power imbalances.
And hey, that's not just my take. This policy brief from the Sejong Institute absolutely nails it. They say, look, underneath all this talk, you've got major differences in what each country actually wants. This isn't a simple, cohesive bloc, not by a long shot. And this slide just illustrates that core tension perfectly. On one side, you have Russia and North Korea, and they are openly screaming, this is a new Cold War. But on the other side, you've got China kind of tapping the brakes. Beijing definitely wants to challenge the US, but it's very deliberately trying to avoid a rigid, all-out conflict.
So, to really get what's going on, we have to break it down. We need to look at the individual, one-on-one relationships, because each two-way partnership in this triangle tells a completely different story. This isn't one alliance. It's really three distinct and, sometimes pretty uneasy friendships.
The most dramatic, and maybe the most surprising shift has been in the relationship between North Korea and Russia. I mean, it has been a complete reversal of roles in just a handful of years.
Just look at this timeline. It's wild. In 2019, Putin practically ignored Kim Jong-un in Vladivostok. But then, the 2022 invasion of Ukraine happens, and boom, everything changes. North Korea suddenly becomes a strategic necessity for Moscow. It all leads to that 2024 treaty that brought back their old mutual defense pact.
And if you want to know why this shift happened, just look at this number, $10 billion. That's the estimated value of the stuff North Korea has sent to Russia. That is over a third of its entire annual GDP. It just goes to show you how completely indispensable Pyongyang has become to Moscow's war effort.
Okay, now compare that to the relationship with China, and it's a totally different story. It's much cooler, way more calculated. This isn't a friendship born out of desperation. It's a partnership of pure tactical convenience. Their relationship really has been a roller coaster. It went from years of basically the silent treatment to a sudden flurry of meetings when King was negotiating with the US. But the most important shift, the real game changer, is the most recent one. China has quietly stopped talking about denuclearization. That signals a de facto acceptance of North Korea as a nuclear power. That's a huge deal.
And finally, we get to the cornerstone relationship, China and Russia. People love to call it a quasi-alliance, but even here, Beijing has put up some very clear guardrails.
This quote just captures China's whole strategy perfectly. It's a delicate balancing act. China wants Russia's help to push back against the US, but it has zero interest in getting tangled up in Moscow's military adventurism or Pyongyang's provocations. No way.
So what does this all add up to? Well, we are not looking at a new Warsaw Pact here. This is a totally new kind of geopolitical formation. The best way to think about it is as an asymmetric alignment.
And that's really the key phrase to remember. Asymmetric alignment. It's from that Sejong brief. From the outside, it looks like a solid, cohesive bloc. But on the inside, it's an alliance of convenience, driven purely by short-term shared interests.
And this matters. A lot. It means that the old goal of getting North Korea to give up its nukes, it's effectively off the table.
The new game is just risk management. It also means that North Korea, with Russia's backing and China's quiet tolerance, is in the strongest bargaining position it has ever been in.
So, what happens next? Well, this new reality has created a North Korea that is way more confident, way more empowered, and potentially way more provocative. Kim Jong-un feels like he's got the backing to act with a whole new level of boldness.
And you don't have to take my word for it. Just listen to Kim Jong-un himself. In his own words, he says North Korea is no longer a country that just defends itself. He says it now has, and I quote, the power to threaten others if necessary.
And that leaves us with a final and, I think, pretty provocative thought. This powerful alignment was born from a very specific set of circumstances. A war in Europe, intense great power competition. It's a triangle of convenience. So the critical question we all have to ask ourselves is this. What happens when that convenience runs out?